Welcome, everyone, to the NoDQ.com live recap of AEW Dynamite for Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025. AEW Dynasty is this coming Sunday on pay-per-view. I will be giving my predictions for the matches I'm aware of at the end of the live stream. Stay tuned for that. I'll give my thoughts on the matches, give my picks. Let's discuss Dynamite Go Home show in Peoria, Illinois, I believe. We opened up the show with a mixed tag team match. The World Heavyweight Champion, Jon Moxley and Marina Shafir against Swerve, Strickland, and Willow, Nightingale. The announcers did talk about the Owen Hart tournament. Jay White is out of the tournament. They said he was attacked by the Death Riders. Apparently, Jay White is legitimately injured and will be out of action. Really sucks for him considering he was previously injured. It feels like every time he starts to build up a little bit of momentum, he gets hurt. But anyways, mixed tag team match. It was tornado rules. They were brawling immediately. Moxley was using a chair. They pulled a table out from under the ring. Moxley even teased giving Willow the paradigm shift. Then Marina Shafir put Willow through the table that they had set up outside of the ring. It was mostly Moxley and Marina dominating the match. They were scratching Swerve in the corner. They tried to give him a superplex, but then Willow came in, powerbombed both of them as they did the superplex. Basically the Tower of Doom spot, which always seems to get the big pop from the crowd. It's pretty much a guarantee, like death and taxes. It will always get a pop. And yes, the bump that Willow took from the table, going through the table, that definitely looked a bit rough. But you got back in it. And Willow ultimately was able to pin Marina Shafir with a power bomb. Right before that, she sent Moxley off the apron through another table, and the production people completely missed the shot. Amateur hour here, I tell you. At least they showed the replay. I'll give them that. And then after the match was over, that son of a bitch, Jon Moxley, got in the ring and attacked Willow, gave her the paradigm shift, and ran away. What a bastard. Match was fairly entertaining for what it was. But yeah, they missed that moment with Moxley going through the table at the end. It was a little rough. We had footage shown from Collision of Dax Harwood pushing down his tag team partner, Cash Wheeler. There was a backstage interview with FTR. Dax was fined $10,000 for shoving the referee during that segment. He gave a check to the referee, and then Dax said that everything was a heat of the moment with him, and he said he was focused on winning the trios titles. He said he loves Cash Wheeler, but Wheeler made it clear that after Sunday, they're going to need to have a talk. The plot thickens with that. Two things. Number one, I feel like Cash Wheeler will be turning heel with Dax. These guys need each other. You separate them, I feel like both of them will end up lost in the shuffle. FTR should stay a team. I think they're going to go heels and feud with Cope and Christian Cage before Cope retires. That's my prediction. And number two, the $10,000 fine. That is ridiculous. I mean, how many crazy things do these wrestlers do to security? They beat up security and innocent people every single week, and nobody gets fined. All of a sudden, somebody's getting fined. Come on now. This is silly. Next up, we had Toni Storm, the women's champion, versus Penelope Ford. Solid match. Penelope got in some offense, but then Toni doing some weird stuff, started biting her lip, and then Ford regained the upper hand. She did this moonsault off the apron to the floor. She hit a gutbuster in the ring, but Toni was able to kick out, and then Toni picked up the win with the Storm Zero. No surprise here, considering Toni Storm has a title match scheduled for Dynasty. Megan Bayne appeared on the stage, and they had a little bit of a face-off to set up the match coming up on Sunday. I will give my predictions for that in just a few moments. We had Swerve Strickland backstage commenting on Willow Nightingale. He was very upset. She said she's strong and brave, and he's not going to rest until he gets his hands on Moxley, and he's going to do it by the end of the night. At least they had a hook for the end of the show. I'll give them that, something to make people tune in at the end. We had MVP and Bobby Lashley minus Shelton Benjamin, Hurt Syndicate, coming to the ring for a promo. Apparently, Shelton Benjamin could not make it because of the weather. MJF immediately interrupted before they could even say anything, and he called Lashley Bob. Unfortunately, he did not call him Bob the Lash, as I used to do back in the day. But MJF talked about how he was kind of disrespected, how Bob has been standing on the block that MJF built, and he knows they can help each other. Bob might not want MJF, but the big, beautiful bastard, as MJF put it, needs MJF. And Lashley said he's not going to lay out MJF out of respect to MVP. He said he doesn't trust MJF, doesn't need MJF, but he wanted MJF to prove himself. And until then, get out of his ring. So MJF walked out. Then we had Big Bill and Brian Keith come out there for a stare down with the tag. Well, not the full tag team, one half of the tag team champions. Man, Brian Keith is like the least intimidating guy ever. He's standing there trying to look all tough next to Lashley, and I'm like, dude, you'd be beaten like 5 seconds without Big Bill. Anyways, we had Bill and Keith winning a squash match. They beat up a couple of local talent and then cut a little post-match promo. They're going to kick the asses of the Hurt Syndicate. And, Big Bill might do all right, but yeah, I think Brian Keith is getting pinned on Sunday. But we'll talk about that more here in just a few moments when I do my predictions. We had Harley Cameron backstage with Mercedes Moné, the TBS champion. Once again, Harley's got the puppet, and she proposed a tag team name for them since they're going to be teaming up on Collision against Athena and Julia Hart. Mercedes just blew her off, so I'm not sure where this storyline is going, but at least Harley's not doing the hologram mask gimmick anymore, and she's just being herself. The puppet is always entertaining. Matthew doesn't like Mercedes. I like Mercedes, and I've been very public on this. I think she's proven a lot of her critics wrong, and this segment was fine. I had no issue with it. Next up, we had Will Ospreay going up. Well, Will Ospreay teaming up with Kevin Knight against Blake Christian and Lee Johnson. Cruiserweight match. You got Will Ospreay and three random cruiserweights in here. I know Lee Johnson's been around for years, but yeah, he's basically a Ring of Honor guy. Same thing with Blake Christian, and Kevin Knight just signed. Match was fine. Solid TV match. I mean, Will Ospreay's the one star in this match, so you know how this one's going down. Although they're trying to build up Kevin Knight as something. We'll see how far that goes. No surprise here. Ospreay and Knight picked up the win. And Knight actually got the pin with the springboard lariat to Johnson. He did a couple cool things. Like at one point, he caused Johnson to give Christian poison Rana. After the match was over, it was confirmed they're in the Owen Hart tournament. They are facing off in the Owen Hart tournament, and their match is going to be at Dynasty. They had a little handshake, but then Knight pulled him in. And it's not LA Knight. It's Kevin Knight, not LA Knight. No. So this match is at Dynasty, and I mean, it'll be a great match, I'm sure. Will Ospreay doesn't miss, right? But yeah, this is just thrown together. We know Will Ospreay's winning. They're going to do a lot of flashy stuff. Will Ospreay will make him look like $1 million. Then we'll move on. Will Ospreay will likely win the tournament. Shout out to Caleb Jacobs, who sent in a $2.55 super chat. Thank you, Caleb. I appreciate it. Caleb says, I feel like the patriarchy is breaking up soon. As do I. As I mentioned last week, I feel like Cope and Christian are going to get back together for that one last run before Cope retires. And I feel like that's what the whole storyline is with Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian having issues with Christian. They're going to split up. Cope and Christian will get back together and have their final run, probably with a match against FTR if I had to make a prediction on it. That seems to be the direction, at least. We had a promo from the Ops, Samoa Joe's group with Hook and Shibata, and they're looking to spread their influence or expand their influence. And they did confirm that they will be at the Dynasty pay-per-view. Not sure how that's a hook, so to speak, for the show, but there you go. They're going to be at Dynasty, everyone. $50. Buy it now. We had Brody Lee versus Lance Archer. Lance Archer basically gets fed to the bigger stars, and Brody King, there's a pecking order. You got Archer down here. Then you got Brody King. Then you got the real stars. That's basically how it is. Brody King's in the tournament, but he's facing Takeshita, so he gonna be losing that one. He beats Archer here, though. Gets a nice little win in a meat match. We got the crowd chanting meat. You know, they're doing all those back and forth shots, and the crowd chants along. Don Callis was out there. There was a Don Callis cosplayer at ringside, and Don Callis was not amused with this. The guy even had the little scar. It was pretty funny, and yeah, it was a good match. No surprise here, though. Brody King did in fact get the win. Figured he'd win this, and then he's going to lose to Takeshita in the Owen Hart tournament. After this, we had our final match of the evening, which was Cope versus Claudio. Crowd was singing Cope's music, although they seemed like they didn't really know too much of the lyrics. And Cope did give them an applause, almost like you guys tried, nice effort. It was kind of funny. This was another good match, back and forth, but, you know, Cope's not losing here. Cope was able to counter out of a lot of things from Claudio, including the sharpshooter and the big swing. Cope did a few things like the avalanche bulldog, and then Claudio power slammed Cope on the apron, tried to get the count out win, but of course, Cope was able to beat the count at 9. They always do. And then Claudio hit the neutralizer. Cope kicked out of that. And then Claudio attempted to do the concerto. Nothing was beating Cope. But then the referee took the chair. And while this was happening, Cope gave Claudio a little taste of his own medicine with a low blow. And then Cope got the 1-2-3 victory with the big swing. We'll see what happens on Sunday with Rated FTR. I suspect they will not be winning those tag team titles, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. Backstage, Swerve was a man of his word. He was going to get his hands on Jon Moxley. But then Hangman Adam Page confronted him. Security came in. They went back and forth. Swerve said that Page needs to let things go, but Page said he can't do that because of Swerve breaking into his home And then Swerve said, well, you didn't have to burn my house down. But then Paige was like, you deserved it. And then Swerve, in a moment which I guess maybe ends the feud, Swerve was like, he knows. He knows that he deserved to have his house burned down. Swerve was the one who broke into Paige's home, and Paige had to get his revenge. And Paige did walk off. So looks like maybe this feud is finally over with them and they have some kind of a mutual understanding. Paige did back off. But then Jon Moxley attacked Swerve. Pac was there, and then you had the entire group, Death Riders. They got him in the ring. Swerve was in the ring, and then they brought out some glass. I don't know if it was real glass or not, but it was glass of some type. And Claudio power bombed Swerve on the glass, left him laying. They all walked out, but then Swerve got up to his feet and was smiling as the show went off the air. Looks like we got a little bit of a taste of what to expect at the pay-per-view. They had some glass here, and I'm thinking we're going to see more than this Sunday at Dynasty. You have to know what's coming. You buy the pay-per-view, you know you're going to get some violence. All in all, the show was solid. It was more of an average Dynamite for me. I probably go with a 5 out of 10. Like, it didn't blow me away. I'm not feeling that this is a top tier pay-per-view. They got 2 Owen Hart tournament matches that they're just throwing into the pay-per-view. And then we're probably going to get another 2 or 3 matches, because as of right now, we have 8 matches, and we know they tend to add 2 or 3 more to it. So it'll be like 10 at the end, plus your 4 matches for the kickoff. It was a standard average wrestling show. I give it a 5 out of 10. But let's talk about Dynasty. We got 8 matches here confirmed. We got the 2 Owen Hart matches. Mercedes versus Julia Hart. Mercedes wins. Come on. Mercedes is probably winning the whole tournament. I'll be shocked if she doesn't win it. You could have somebody else win it and get a title match. Mercedes wins this one. Will Ospreay versus Kevin Knight. Come on. Will Ospreay wins here. He's going to make Kevin Knight look like a star. Yada, yada, yada. We know how this routine goes. They'll put on a barn burner. It'll get 4 3/4 star rating at minimum. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's just very predictable, but you know it's going to be really good. We got Daniel Garcia defending the TNT Championship against Adam Cole, baby. Man, the stock of both of these guys have fallen quite a bit. I don't even have any interest in this match. I don't care who wins the title. I'm indifferent to it. I think Adam Cole has to win, though, right? I mean, they had a match the other week that was a draw. Adam Cole needs something at this point. His career has gone so far downhill. I guess Adam Cole wins, but I'm very much indifferent to this one. I'll say we get the title change. Cole is the betting odds favorite for this one. Next up, we have Chris Jericho versus Bandito for the Ring of Honor title. Another match I really don't care about. I have no interest in the Ring of Honor title. I presume Jericho loses this one. I don't see Bandito losing the mask. Get Jericho out of the Ring of Honor scene. I don't know what you do with him after this, but yeah. Bandito will win the title. Jericho, get him out of Ring of Honor. Maybe retire him. I don't know. But yeah, we'll have a new champion here. We got the trios match for the World Tag Team titles. Claudio, Pac, and Wheeler Yuta against Rated FTR, Cope, Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood. I do not think Rated FTR winning this. I think that the split will continue. The fallout from that will play out over the next few weeks. But yeah, something's going to happen here. And the heel turn of Dax and possibly the heel turn of Wheeler will happen here. And yeah, they're not going to win the titles. Death Riders retain. Next up, we got the three-way for the international title. We got Kenny Omega defending against Ricochet and Speedball Mike Bailey. I think this will probably be the best match of the show. I think this will surpass Will Ospreay's match. Should be a hell of a match. I am looking forward to this one, even though I am not expecting a title change here. Omega will be champion probably until All In at the earliest. So it's a predictable outcome, but I think it'll be a really good match. Probably a great match with these guys. They'll tear down the house. Should be a fun one. Toni Storm defending the women's world title against Megan Bayne. Megan Bayne's been looking pretty good the last few weeks, but Toni Storm just won the title, so I don't see her losing it right away. I think Megan Bayne will have a strong showing, but ultimately Toni Storm will retain the championship. And then we got the main event, Jon Moxley versus Swerve Strickland. I will say this, I'm not so sure about this one now. The one positive about the build for Dynasty coming off of Dynamite, before the show, I thought for sure Moxley was winning. But they did the angle at the end where Swerve got power bombed on the glass and they left him laying. So I would not rule out Swerve winning. I would like to see Swerve win. Let me just throw that out there. I'd like to see the title change just because I'm sick of the Death Riders and this whole Jon Moxley storyline. I'm kind of torn on this one. I will stick to my original thought that Moxley will retain, since I still feel like Will Ospreay is going to be the conquering hero that finally ends the run of the Death Riders and finally beats Jon Moxley and shuts him up. I still feel like it's going to be Ospreay. So despite the angle that they did, I think that Moxley will retain the title. I expect it to be a very violent match. You guys know in advance, you buy the pay-per-view, expect a lot of blood, expect a lot of carnage. I think Jon Moxley will retain, but if Swerve wins, I won't be surprised. Like, it wouldn't shock me, and I wouldn't oppose it. Like, I'm fine with the Swerve winning and Jon Moxley going away. At this point, I have no interest in the Death Riders. I just want to see them destroyed, and let's move on to something else. But yeah, I'm going with Jon Moxley by a very small margin. And all in all, like, it'll be another really great show. The build for it, though, I mean, it's pretty weak and thrown together. Several of these matches don't feel like pay-per-view quality matches, at least as far as the build goes. Like, you know, these guys can go. You know they're gonna deliver. They'll probably over-deliver considering the lack of hype for this show. But yeah, I mean, several of these matches feel like they should just be Dynamite main events or something, and they don't need to be on pay-per-view. And you know they're going to pad out the card even more with 2 or 3 more matches. So yeah, on paper, as far as storyline build goes, it's one of their weaker shows, but I expect it will overperform. And you know, I think you buy the pay-per-view, you know what you're getting from AEW, and I think they'll deliver. There you have it. My thoughts on Dynamite and Dynasty. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Tell a friend. Spread the word about NoDQ.com. Check out the No DQ review if you missed it. We had Big Vito on, making his return. He had a lot to say, so check that out. It's on demand. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest wrestling news and rumors. Buy a shirt. We got the NoDQ.com merchandise store over at NoDQ.com/merch. We got a new NoDQ review t-shirt, green shirt, plus the original review moderator shirt for Virtue. Check that out, NoDQ.com/merch. Have a great night, everyone. Stay safe out there. I'll see you all next time. Say yes to No DQ.